So first off, Dr. Api, let me ask you, what is your reaction to the government's decision to impose a lockdown on Aōtearoa this week?
My Lord Johnson, I think it's a really good idea. I think as we look around the world and see how other countries are reacting, the hard lockdown really worked for us in Aōtearoa last year and this year. And so going into level 4 is a really good way to maintain our elimination strategy, to try and just stop everything while we do the investigations. We have to find out the variant. We need to find out all the contacts and whether they test positive or negative. And all of those things will decide, as you've already alluded to, whether the whole country is safe to come out of level 4 in 3 days, and whether Auckland and the Coromandel needs to be extended for a bit longer, depending on what the contact tracing shows up. But I think it's a really good idea. It just causes us to pause as a country, and we've seen, unfortunately, what has happened when we have delayed lockdown with our neighbours in New South Wales, etc.
And I think it's important to note that there are a number of locations of interest that have already been put up on the Ministry of Health website. We'll also share it on Prepare Pacific as well. And those locations of interest are across Auckland and the Coromandel too. Now, Dr. Api, there's so much discussion that's been happening around the Delta variant. As we said, it hasn't been confirmed that it is Delta, but the government is acting as if it is Delta. But can you please tell us why should we be worried about this particular variant?
Yeah, I think it's really good to treat it as if it's the Delta variant, because that's what's been isolated from people in MIQ that have tested positive. That's the main variant that has caused the lockdowns in New South Wales and Victoria. And of course, in Fiji, unfortunately, it's the main variant there. So our neighbors have got Delta. And Delta is very dangerous because it is at least 2 times more infectious, can get to you, cause illness twice as much as the ordinary variant. And it's what we're seeing in places like the UK and unfortunately in Israel, that was really well-vaccinated population. The Delta variant has caused problems there because it can get people, even if they're vaccinated. Although it's a less serious illness, it can still spread that way. It's just very highly infectious.
Well, today's positive case obviously showed that, the man that caught it was unvaccinated. He was in the process of booking his vaccination. His wife, however, she was vaccinated and she tested negative. They are going to retest her again. But obviously this shows the importance around making sure we all get vaccinated, right?
Absolutely. And, if the wife's second test comes back negative, it's a really, really good sort of testimony to the fact that vaccination really protects you. It's not 100%, as we all know, but it provides this extra layer of protection that just shields you or lessens the chances of you getting the virus. And as we know, even if you're vaccinated and you get the Delta variant, your illness is not as bad. You don't need hospitalization as much, and you're able to recover better while you're at home.
Yeah, I think that's important to note. And because, we need to remind everybody that getting vaccinated doesn't mean you won't get it. All right, we've got to keep reminding people about that. Is that it doesn't mean we're fully protected, but like Dr. Api was saying, it definitely helps and keeps our families as well much safer. Now, one thing I wanted to add in there is that I am currently in managed isolation at the moment. after returning back from overseas. Now, one thing that kind of worried me about this is how you were talking about how easily transmissible this is, because there was another case in managed isolation from today where Delta was, I guess, transferred through doors being opened at the same time, and that was only for a period of around 3 to 5 seconds. So some of the other ways that I've heard that Delta can be passed on is through, well, correct me if I'm wrong, but somewhere around exercise, or the increase in exercise. Is that true, Dr. Api? Because the reason why I bring this up is because we're going to have people that we're encouraging them to stay at home, right? However, they're allowed to go for walks. But why I'm bringing this up is the importance around social distancing, that how this can be transmissible, is that we have to also make sure that we adhere to the 2-meter social distance. Is that correct?
It's absolutely correct. And it's why this Delta variant is really dangerous, because it is so easy to transmit. So if we think about it, it is transmissible from, I call it a respiratory droplet. So coughing, sneezing, breathing even into the air in front of you, it can easily be transmitted. So if someone's standing in the corridor, you open your door and you cough or sneeze, and you've got Delta, you can easily infect those people. So it's much more transmissible than any of the other viruses. So it's really important to keep your social distance, to wear a mask if it's appropriate in the right place, and particularly if you're exercising or exerting yourself, you'll be breathing a bit more heavily and, able to transmit it a bit easier than normal.
Right. Actually, that's a better explanation that you're giving now than what I was given around why we weren't allowed to run in our exercise area here at MIQ. So thank you very much for that. Now, as we know, we have been encouraged to stay home, but obviously people will need to go and get shopping. There are photos and videos online already of people clogging up the supermarket. Supermarkets will stay open. But for you, Dr. Api, and in terms of encouraging we're going to wrap up shortly, but encouraging our families further, what are some other things that they can do? Obviously, you said wearing masks. What are some other things that our people of our communities can do? Because, we also know that there are, bubbles. People like to extend their bubbles, and there are various different church activities. And I know I was waiting for you to say it, but I thought you were going to say we've been here before, so we know some of the things that we need to do. But is there anything else you would like to add?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. We've done this before, and although we might not have done it for a while, I think, as the Prime Minister said, let's just remember those golden rules that we have done. I mean, I want to just emphasize the social distancing and the wearing of masks that you explained. Let's do that when you're out in public. You don't know if someone next to you is going to sneeze or cough. Wear a mask to protect yourself. Please use hand sanitizer, or wash your hands carefully before you handle anything like the door handle or the shelf that you might be next to at the supermarket. Scan the QR codes. That's really important so that we can track and trace where you've been should there be a breakdown in Auckland. And as you've said, Johnson, if you're unwell or not feeling great, stay at home. And if you're worried, go and get a test. We have been advised in primary care, in general practice, to stop vaccinations for the next few days so that we can lift our capability for testing for the general public. So if you're not feeling great, go and get a test.
And I think that's important. That's an important note to also add there. Like you said, 48 hours no vaccinations are going to be given. However, though, that doesn't mean you cannot book. You
No.
can still get in there and do your booking for your vaccinations. So if you haven't already, please would like to encourage you, get your vaccinations bookings done, and also spread the word to get those bookings done as well. Also a note for people that aren't at home at the moment, you have 48 hours before, 48, they're encouraging you to get home now as soon as possible, but there is kind of a leeway period of around 48 hours. Now, Dr. Api, what can we expect over the next couple of days as we wrap up? I know in the past we've been told that cases rise before they fall. Is that kind of going to be the same case, or is it just a wait and see at the moment because they're still looking to confirm that it is actually Delta?
Yeah, I think it's really the latter, that we will wait and see. Once they confirm the variant tomorrow, they will be able to give us. I think if it's Delta, as you've heard from the Prime Minister, we're going into a hard lockdown for 7 days, and they might even extend that for the rest of the country. But that needs to be confirmed before any other decisions are made. And they will, be testing. So the testing the wastewater in the Coromandel to see if there's any sign of positivity there, so that they can just give people the reassurance. But I really like the approach that the government is taking. We'd rather be proactive, lock down early, and then lift the restrictions as soon as we are reassured that we've contained this virus.
And like you said, we don't want it to be a repeat of what has happened to our friends over the ditch in New South Wales. Hence why we hear the line, go hard and go early. So thank you very much, Dr. Api, for sharing with us tonight and taking my late call this evening to share with our Pacific communities around the importance of not only getting vaccinated, but to shed some light around the importance around some more details around why Delta is so transmissible. So thank you very much for that. And I hope that for everybody watching, if you'd like more details, of course, the Ministry of Health locations of interest are up. They're constantly updating the details, and also across Prepare Pacific as well. And hopefully we won't have to give you another call, Dr. Api, to explain what's happening. You told us this and something else is happening. But we just thank you for taking the time out this evening to share with our Pacific communities. And it's all around making sure we keep our communities safe. So thank you very much.
Vinaka Johnson, you're very welcome. Great.
Yay. Sorry about that muck up. I have no idea what happened. I was like, shit, locked down.
That was weird. And I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I should have cut it, but I didn't. We just carried it on.
Yeah. Oh, well, that'll add to the uniqueness of the recording.
The uniqueness, or the, what do they call it? The bloopers.